Stephanie, you get like 10 points towards something. So welcome, everyone. So VFI program, Volunteers for Israel. We're the only organization in America that helps facilitate civilians volunteering on Israeli Defense Force bases in Israel. So if you're interested in going on that, you are welcome to email me. I will put my email in the chat. Julia is our fabulous guide in person and on VFI Educates, and she'll be giving the talk today. If you have any questions during her talk, feel free to put them in the chat and we will review them after. If there is something wrong that I need to know right away, please message me directly in the chat. And I'm going to mute everyone during the program, but I will unmute you after. Okay? All right. Julia, feel free to unmute.
Okay, well, I did unmute. Can you hear me again, everybody?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Connie, thank you. David, Ilana, thank you all. Hey, Valerie is getting connected. Good to see you again, all of you. So I will start sharing my screen and we will start talking about this beautiful place, which is right behind me. I don't know if you recognize or you just heard what I said. Anyway, this is Ljubljana. So here we start. Okay. No, this is not what I wanted to do. Not at all. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I realized that. Okay, wait, I'll try again. Okay, that should work this time. Okay, can you see my screen? It should be beautiful Slovenia. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to tour a fraction of beautiful Slovenia. I'm Julia Newman. I'm a tour guide. I've actually started this story about this tour. I participated in about a month ago. 2 weeks ago, I started talking about this tour, which actually took place about a month ago. And I participated in this tour to Croatia and Slovenia as being a practicing tour guide, meaning that I joined a group of Israelis, primarily Muslim Israelis, led by a tour guide who is Druze, and we toured together. The idea was for me to learn about the locations and possibly, hopefully, guide them myself in the future. So 2 weeks ago, I was talking about Croatia and one place only in Slovenia, which was the Postojna Cave, which is an amazing, beautiful stalactite cave. But I've already talked about it 2 weeks ago, so I will not repeat. And we will keep talking about Slovenia. You will see that I'm quite excited. I mean, yeah, truly, I am excited about it. And I hope to make you excited soon. And this is a pay as you wish presentation. You have my PayPal address, and here we begin. By the way, this beautiful place you see in front of you, I mean on my screen rather than behind me, this is probably the most famous, the most iconic location in Slovenia. It's called Bled. So we're going to be there later, but let's start with the beginning, which is the ID. That's, I call it Slovenia's ID. So you can see Slovenia here in yellow. You see that it is surrounded by Italy and Austria and Hungary and Croatia. These are the overland borders. And you can see the sea. Okay, the blue color, this is the Adriatic Sea, meaning that here, okay, this little bay, this is where a town called Koper is located, and another town which we will be virtually visiting soon, which is called Tiran. Okay, both of them are located on this tiny little fraction of the Adriatic seashore, which belongs to Slovenia. The size of Slovenia is about 7,800 something square miles, as you can see, which is only slightly smaller than the size of Israel. Okay, so for me, it's more or less same as what we have, but the great difference is, of course, in the size of the population, because the population of Slovenia is about 2.1 million. They don't multiply so much. I mean, it's pretty stable. Unlike us, as you probably know, we multiply very well. So we have our population growing and growing. And today the population of Israel is about 10 million. So that's about 5 times as much as Slovenia, while the size of the country is almost the same. Slovenia is the most expensive country of all former Yugoslavia states. It is not as expensive as Western Europe. I mean, it's about, if you compare Slovenia to Austria, for instance, so I would say prices in Slovenia are about 2/3 of the prices in Austria, while the landscape and the service you get are almost the same. And so if you want to spend less but get the same, go to Slovenia. And that would make Slovenia such an attractive, wonderful destination for travelers from all over the world. The landscape is mostly mountainous and forested, and it got its independence. The first state which fledged of the disintegrated Yugoslavia back in 1991. So Yugoslavia disintegrated, and little by little the various states which used to form autonomous areas within Yugoslavia got their independence. So Slovenia was the first one, and it is still the most successful by far. The reaches the best. This is what Slovenia looks like. I mean, all these colorful patches you see in front of you, these are the various areas, various regions within Yugoslavia. And here you can see part of a wooden wheel which was found in the margins of Ljubljana, not far from the city. And this, well, obviously it is a wheel. It is big enough to be a wheel of a cart. So this is the oldest wooden wheel ever discovered from the Neolithic period. Of course, it doesn't mean that there were no other wheels from the same period of time, but this is the oldest existing. It's on display in the museum in Ljubljana, and this is, well, they're quite proud of themselves. It means that they were very successful back in the Neolithic period as well. The local legend, the local tale says, Slovenians love their country for a good reason. What you see in front of you now is one of the most famous and iconic places in Slovenia, called Triglav Park. Actually, if I go back, okay, now you can see the Slovenia flag. I did not address it before. Now you see it in front of you, the same colors as quite a few other Slovenic countries like Croatia, Russia, and few others. And you can see this little part with a 3 tops of a mountain. Okay, 3 tops, 3 summits, or otherwise 3 heads. And the Slovenic word for 3 heads is Triglav. So this is the mountain, and this is the best symbol of Slovenia, the best place to hike. By the way, we will get there a bit later. So the local tale says that when God created the world, when God created the various states, so he would call a state by state and give that state something, something special. Some got the tallest mountains, some got the luscious forest, some got the deepest lakes, some got, well, the deepest spot in the world, maybe like Israel getting the Dead Sea. And Slovenia, well, it was waiting politely, and God didn't address it. in the end, every country got something and they got nothing. So then Slovenia said, hey, God, what about us? What are we getting? And then God said, well, you're getting it all. And you will get enough of everything to form the perfect country. And, that makes them very proud, but there is something in it. I mean, literally, Slovenia has it all. Small, but amazing. An interesting thing about the names, the country is called Slovenia, and prior to that it was Yugoslavia, and the language is called Slavonic. And obviously all of them have that Slav, right? We know Slavonic nations. So what does it mean? It must mean something, right? So we have two possible linguistic explanations. Slava, as you can see in every Slavonic language, means fame, okay? While Slovo means a word, okay? So if the names Slovenia, Yugoslavia, etc. come from Slava, that means that they saw themselves as very famous or deserving fame. Anyway, again, about pride. Or maybe it's about words. So we speak a language which means something. We have the words. And probably this is the right explanation, because in Russian and Slovenic as well, the German speakers, the Dutch, they are called Немцы. Okay, Немцы means muted. I mean, people who cannot speak. I mean, they just talk gibberish. We have a language. They are talking nonsense. So that's just a funny thing. Anyway. So let's start with the beginning, and we are in Ljubljana, which means lovely. I don't know if anybody here speaks Russian besides myself, but Lyubov in Russian is love, and Lublю means I love. So Ljubljana is literally lovely, and it is lovely. I mean, it's one of the smallest and the loveliest capitals in Europe. You can see the size, you see the population. Again, just to compare, I know that quite a few of you have been to Jerusalem. So the size of Ljubljana is slightly smaller than the size of Jerusalem. I'm not talking about the old city. I'm talking about, everything, the modern. So modern Ljubljana is about the same size as modern Jerusalem, but the population of Jerusalem is about 4 times as much as Ljubljana. And so it's so much more relaxed and easygoing. And, well, you see that river behind me. This is the river which crosses the entire state and crosses Ljubljana as well. And you can take a boat ride and you can sit on that promenade. And all the houses are very small and quite pretty. And everything is very relaxed. Here you can see me standing on one of the bridges and the other bridges, and you could just walk. Ljubljana is small enough, so if you walk from one part of, like, one end of the old city to the other end, it will take maybe half an hour, a bit more than the old city of Jerusalem, and it's great. The municipality of Ljubljana, and some more photos. And this is what the Philharmonic Orchestra building looks like. Here you can see my group. The group I've joined. As you can see, they are Muslims. And as we were walking down the street in Ljubljana, the night we had stopped by this building here. This building on the left. And he started saying something about it, and then the tour guide said, hey, don't worry about it. It's, they're Muslims, and we kept walking. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, so what is it? Let's see. So I stopped here. You see that flag here, and I read it, and it mentioned that back then in the 13th century, shortly after Ljubljana was founded, the Jewish communities settled down here, and that's where the synagogue of Ljubljana used to be. Not this building. This building is much younger than that, but this is the exact location of the synagogue. There was a small but prosperous Jewish community in Ljubljana for about 200 years. And some 200 years later, there was a Ljubljana exile. I mean, I never knew that there was an exile of the Jews from Slovenia, not entire Slovenia, but Ljubljana anyway. So we have some other very famous exiles, the most famous one being the Spanish and the Portuguese. But apparently there was a Jewish exile from Ljubljana as well. And for a couple of hundred of years, Jews did not live in Ljubljana, and they were allowed to come back only when Napoleon conquered Slovenia. And Napoleon was pretty much pro-Jewish oriented, so he led them back, and the Jewish community was renewed. And there was another synagogue which existed till World War II. So this is the Jewish angle of Ljubljana. As you walk around the old city, you see that, I mean, I call it the old city because that's what it is. This is the old part of Ljubljana. This is where Ljubljana was founded in the 13th century. So that's where it was founded. But everything was renovated because Slovenia, and specifically Ljubljana, is located on a rift, on a geological rift. So they suffer from a similar problem as Israel in general, and especially the Jordan Valley. I mean, every now and then there is an earthquake, and then there is a lot of damage, and then things need to be restored. So this is the old town of Ljubljana, but it's not indeed old. And almost wherever you walk this pretty narrow streets. And when you look up there, you see the fortress, the citadel of Ljubljana, which is built on top of a hill overlooking the town. That was the citadel of the kings in the past. Today there is a museum, they have some exhibitions there, and it's a great place just to have coffee. Now we are on the central square of Ljubljana. This is a recently painted church, a Catholic, beautiful church. And right next to the church, we see the statue of Prešeren. Prešeren is the most famous poet, Slavonic poet. I'm pretty sure you never heard of him, but he is, well, I don't know what to compare him to for Americans, you'll tell me, but he's like Pushkin for Russians. He's like Bialik for the Israelis. Okay, the main poet, the symbol of the literature of Slovenia. And you see that he looks straight forward, and there is a house right in front of him, and that house belonged to his muse, his beloved Julia. That's her. Her name was Julia. Unfortunately, he loved her. She never loved him, so it never happened. And he was sad. I mean, he is always described as a very sad person, as a tragic figure, because he was suffering of unmutual love and problems with the government and the law, and he never had enough money, you know, like almost every poet. So that's Prešeren, and he is on the main square of the capital. Let's take a look just around. Before we start looking around, you see this is the only Jewish couple, the only Jews on tour except of myself. So they were my sort of, partners on the tour, Avner and Iris. You've heard the bells. That was noon. So the bells were all over the place, and it added to this beautiful and very, very European atmosphere. Now you see this circle, this wet circle on the floor. These are the hiding fountains. Every few minutes, you get you basically get rainfall, okay? And it's located in a way so you don't see where it comes from. And it took me a long while to find where this water comes from. But it's like, everything is dry around. It's pretty hot. I mean, the weather was hot. And then you see that wet circle, and then you walk in it, and then you get wet, and there's nothing happens. It's called the miracle of Ljubljana. So it's a very nice miracle, and you see all these kids running around getting wet, and their parents are happy. By the way, you see how many people are around here. Now, it's not Sunday. It's just a weekday. And it seems like nobody's working. And, some of these people are obviously tourists, but most of them are locals. And people just walk around, talk, eat, drink. Same phenomena happens in Tel Aviv. It always feels like nobody's working. Like, who is working? How do you make an income? That's another Ljubljana miracle. One of the main attractions, and again, one of the iconic parts of Ljubljana, is the so-called Dragons and Locks Bridge. These bridges exist in different places in the world. I guess there's at least one in the States. There's one in Tel Aviv. For some reason, years ago, somebody decided that a couple in love, they should come here with a lock, place that lock together, and throw the keys into the river. Do you have anything like that in the States? Well, I probably, I don't know, there is such a bridge in Tel Aviv, okay? There's such a bridge in so many places. So I can only imagine how many keys are down there in the bottom of the river, but, it is what it is. And it's called the Dragons because of the dragons, okay? This is one of the dragons. Just took a photo. But there are quite a few other dragons. And of course, there is, this is what this bridge originally looked like before it was renovated in the beginning of the 20th century. You see that bridge on the left, it was called the Butcher's Bridge because the butcher's shops were near the bridge. So, okay, no dragons, much simpler than the bridge we have today. And here, this is the modern bridge, and this is the inauguration of the new bridge. Oh, I missed an F. Okay, this is an F. Anyway, so the story tells that Ljubljana was founded by a Jason and the Argonauts. This is a Greek mythology when they slaughtered a dragon, and so they could found the city when they came back from their journey to bring the golden fleece. Anyway, there is a Greek mythology which has to do with the dragon. All right. The other story says that dragon, when a virgin walks by the dragon, okay, it must be a virgin. So if the virgin walks by the dragon crossing the bridge, so the dragon gets very excited and it flips its tail. Okay, it is a bit overreacting. It never happens because there are no virgins. That's the common explanation. Anyway, some people call it, instead of calling it the dragon, it is called mother-in-law, because she's overreacting as well sometimes. And down here you see a photo of a cactus. This is a quite common Israeli cactus. And this one is called the chair of the mother-in-law. Okay, you can see how spikes there are. So this is the worst chair possible, and that's what it's called. I mean, I tell you that only because I'm going to be at some point mother-in-law, so I can afford myself, you know. Anyway, I love markets. and I'm not the only one. And so we walked to a beautiful open air fruits and vegetables market located at one of the squares of the old city. And it's so great just to walk around and get some berries, fruits, vegetables, some of it local, some of it imported. And right next to it, and this is, I never saw anything like that. You see, there's an automatic machine. Normally, automatic machines like that sell snacks, coffee, Coca-Cola, right? But in this case, it sells eggs. Did you ever see a egg tomate or whatever we should call it? Anyway, so this is the egg machine. And as I was just walking around the market, I saw avocado, which look exactly as the avocados which grow near my house because I live in a moshav. And then I look carefully, and I hope you can read what it says. It says Israel, okay? Israel with a Z, okay? Because this is how Israel is spelled in Slovenic language. So these are the Israeli avocados. I was so proud. And I told the guy who was selling them that, hey, these are my avocados, but he was not impressed. And the other guy next to him, he was selling, well, this is my favorite, a big cup of different kinds of berries and everything. It was so appealing, so obviously I had one. And then I kept walking around, and I got to this building. This is the parliament. Okay, this is the parliament. This is the Slovenian parliament, which is basically the same as the Israeli Knesset. I mean, it is the same. And, you know, I was looking at the parliament, and I recall the Knesset. And again, those of you who've been to Israel, well, you either visited the Knesset or you saw the Knesset. Remember how far is that gate here on the photo? That gate is from the actual entrance to the Knesset. I mean, you have to pass security and another security and have an appointment and get a tag, and there's all these formalities, and you cannot carry a weapon, you cannot wear this, you should wear that. I mean, it's complicated, and it's so well guarded for a good reason, of course. So this is the Israeli parliament, this is the Israeli Knesset, and this is how things work here. And here we walk down the street and we look at the parliament, and you see there's a little booth here, okay? You don't see the guy inside, okay? But the guy inside, I didn't feel like getting too close. So, but the guy inside is playing with his cell phone. He never looked at us, and you see that the door is open and everybody can approach the parliament. And you know, I was just standing there staring at the parliament, and I felt jealous. I mean, I wish once upon a time we will not need to guard our parliament the way we do it today. I wish we were so safe. That was a sad moment. Okay, the story here, you see there's an old gentleman riding his bike, and these two girls, they are from my group. They are young Israeli Arab girls, both they are cousins. They both study in Haifa University. They live in an Arab town called Kfar Kara, which is about 10 minutes drive from me. And that means that they're Israeli citizens, you know, all good. They speak pretty good Hebrew. They did not speak such good English, so occasionally I helped them with things, and they were so nice. Anyway, the guy here, the old local guide, he looked at them and he just stopped his bike and he said, "Hey, where are you from?" And they said, "Palestine." And he said, "Oh, wow, Palestine, not Israel." And they said, "Yes, Palestine, not Israel." And then you see, he was like thumbs up. "Yes, Palestine is good, no Israel. Palestine, heroes." I mean, these were his words. I mean, his English was not probably good enough to develop the conversation, and their English was not good as well. But that was a sad moment. You know, we shared the same group, we share the same passport, and no, they're not from Israel. And it really felt like approaching them and saying, hey girls, are you sure you're not Israeli? But I dropped it. And here is a happy moment. I hope you can see what they're doing. They're actually doing so bubbles in the air. Okay, so just young couple running around the pedestrian zone and making people happy. So that was a happy moment. By the way, you see how many people are walking down the street. You can see the bikes. You see no cars because some 10 years ago, the municipality of Ljubljana decided to make the entire center of Ljubljana a pedestrian zone. So that made the European Union declare Ljubljana is the greenest city in Europe, which is a great pride. And it's actually great to walk around having no cars whatsoever, having no air pollution whatsoever. You don't have to look around to see if there's any car trying to kill you. Okay, so that's wonderful, assuming you can walk or ride your bike. On the other hand, if you're old or, whatever, doesn't let you walk, so what do? So the municipality provides free golf carts with drivers, and these golf carts are simply driving around in hectic way, and they just wait for people to raise their hands and say, hey, I need a ride, and that's free of charge. I mean, if you need one to go from place A to B, so you can call and arrange one. Otherwise, you just raise your hand, like cabs, but free and electric and slow running and really wonderful cabs. So that's something I wish we adopt at some point in the old city of Jerusalem, at least. Okay, and here just before we leave Ljubljana, there's a little video taken by an Israeli couple. So let's take a look at Ljubljana before we move on. Okay, that was this video was taken a few years ago, so that was before the golf carts. Back then they used this little I don't know what to call them, trolleys maybe. Anyway, today we have golf carts. Okay, now I'm not sure how to get out of this. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh, okay. Farewell, lovely Ljubljana. Of course, we have to have a coffee and a cake with wild berries. This is a must in Ljubljana. And we drive to this iconic location, the iconic location of Slovenia, which is called the Bled Jezero. The J is pronounced as Y in Slovenic, in Slavonic languages. So Jezero means a lake. So the lake of Bled Jezero. The shore length is 3.75 miles. It's not a very big lake, but the color is amazing. And I would like you to keep in mind the size, okay, 3.75 miles, because it is important for us for the future. This is what this wonderful lake looks like fall. This photo was not taken by me, but it's just such a pretty one, so I wanted to share. The other photos are mine. And on top of having this beautiful bluish lake and this beautiful green forest around it and the hills and everything, this lake also has a tiny little island, and that island belongs to that church. So if you want to visit this church, and of course such an iconic place attracts so many couples which would like to get married in this specific church, so there's special boats which will take you across the lake to the church, and then there's a restaurant where you can sit down and celebrate the fact that you're finally married. This is the view from a balcony of a cafe, which is very famous, the Park Hotel Cafe. The cafe is actually right by the lake, and across the promenade there is the hotel. And what is so important about it, that the cake, the famous cake, the cream cake, the Cremeschnitte, was invented by a professional specifically for this hotel, for that cafe, and ever since the cafe and the restaurant are doing very well. So this is the ad for the kavarna. Kavarna means cafe. Okay, and here, this is the balcony from which the previous photo was taken. This is the first cafe, again, maybe you're familiar, but for me that was the first time, where they have a robot waiter. You see this? This is a robot, and the robot drives to the human waiter, and the human waiter will put the cakes on it, and then it will go all the way to the customer, and the customer will get the cake from the robot, and then the robot will go somewhere else. That was pretty impressive. So we were sitting down there looking at the robot, and then somebody said, "Hey, so do you tip it?" I was like, not sure. How do you tip a robot? Anyway, this is the famous cake. I have to admit that it was disgusting, but I had to take, I had to have it. How can you possibly escape it? But the iced cafe was wonderful. So that's what it is. And now you see why I wanted you to recall, to remember the size of the shore, because you see they made over 500,000 original Bled cream cakes yearly. Okay, now you can calculate, because the cakes are there since 1953, so you make a fast math. Anyway, so since they have made as many as 13 million cream cakes, and if we put them next to each other around Bled Lake, they would create a 7 meters high wall around the lake. Now this board is there for, I'm not sure when. Unfortunately, they did not put a date on it, but obviously it was not from this year. It was not from previous years, quite old. So now it can create more than a 7 meters high wall around the lake. Or otherwise, if we put them one next to the other in a row, so they would reach from Bled to Rome and further. Probably now it's all the way to Amsterdam or whatever. When you have something very famous, so it keeps being famous no matter if it's good or bad. So basically, I do not recommend the cake. That was surprising. Walking around the little town of Bled, this is the city hall, okay? But when you look at this decoration up here, okay, let's take a closer look. You see what is there? This is a menorah. Right, this is definitely a menorah, and I did not find any explanation to it. If anybody can help me with why does the municipality of Bled has a menorah on it, so I will be happy to learn. But it is there, which was nice. And from from Bled, we drove another maybe half an hour to another beautiful, much less crowded, no cakes around Lake Bogini. Just pretty, surrounded by mountains, a beautiful place to go swimming. It is so clear. I mean, no matter how deep the lake is, you see everything inside. I mean, it's almost unreal. And from this lake, you drive another 15 minutes maybe, and you get to the cable car, which takes you to the top of Mount Vogel. Okay. It's a beautiful cable ride, and on top of Mount Vogel, you see a heart, and this is where you can take another cable car, which is made for skiing. So since it was summertime, no skiing, but beautiful views, beautiful atmosphere, beautiful location. And up here, you can see what the same place looks like winter time. And down here, you can see my beloved family on a ski vacation. Actually, it's not a real photo. I mean, the photo on the left was taken on the Hermon mountain in Israel, while my daughter here on the right, this is a photo taken in Val Thorens in France. But these are my skiers. On top of Vogel, well, wintertime you go skiing, summertime you just walk, beautiful nature walks. You see cows, and you see, I just love the sculpture. You see, it's a wooden sculpture of a nice family of wild boars. So the father, the mother, and the two kids, I felt so much associated. I mean, that's us. I have two children walking around. I love it. And then we took the cable car downhill and we drove to the Adriatic Sea. Just a reminder, remember Slovenia is basically, it doesn't have much coast. The only coast it has here, this little yellow part, is 47 kilometers long, which is approximately around 30 miles long, and the rest of the Adriatic coast belongs to Italy and Croatia. So the very little part of the Adriatic Sea, the Slovenians make the best of it. So I'm here standing on the promenade of Portorož, which is a very fancy and yet relatively cheap, of course, resort. I mean, it feels like, well, I've never been to Santa Monica, so I imagine that's what it looks like. But it's, you know, I'm looking for, well, Napoli, okay? But it's so much cheaper. So this is Portorož, and here on the left, this is one of the most famous Slovenic towns, and this is called Piran. Piran comes from the word fire, pyrotechnica. Yeah. So Piran is the place of fire. It was named so because of the lighthouse, probably because Piran used to be a very important port in the past. Today, the major port moved to a nearby town called Koper, but the ancient port, the connection between Italy and the rest of Europe was through Piran. And because it is so close to Italy, Italy is literally like, you know, next door across the bay. It ruled parts of Slovenia, including Piran and Koper, for hundreds of years. It belonged to the Duchess of Venice. And we can prove it because this is an arch which leads into the old part of Piran. And if you look on top of it, here, okay, you can see a lion with wings and a book. And if you ever been to Venice, so you can recognize it as the symbol of Venice because a winged lion, he is the symbol of Saint Mark. Mark, the author of the Gospel, according to Mark, and he is the patron of Venice. So wherever Venetians ruled, they would place this winged lion. That includes Akko in Israel, and that includes Piran, among other places. So the lighthouse is no longer there. instead of, well, not instead, but next to where the lighthouse used to be, there is a church, which was partly renovated. I mean, I think it's a beautiful idea. You see here, that's what a church looks like inside. It's not functioning. It's partly renovated. I mean, you have the lower parts old and the upper parts brand new. It's very well maintained. It's an ancient church from the 13th century, which is pretty impressive. And we walk around this beautiful medieval town, which, you know, the climate is very similar to, again, to Italy and Greece and the coastal plain of Israel as well. So here, that tree you see on the right, this is a fig tree. It's a huge, beautiful fig tree. And, you know, when you sit below a fig tree, you feel very much in Israel. Narrow streets, a bell tower, and oleander. Again, you almost feel in Israel. And what is interesting, they kept the names of the streets, which will tell you about the different time frames, the different periods of the different rulers of Piran and Slovenia in general. So you see there is a Engelsova ulica. Ulica is a street in Russian and Slovenic. So this is the street of Engels, you know, Marx and Engels, the spiritual fathers of communism. So that tells us about the communist past of Yugoslavia. And a nearby street is called Calle Giuseppe Garibaldi, while Garibaldi is the one who assembled Italy, who created modern Italy. So, you know, we have both. And then all of a sudden, we got to a place which is called Piazzetta Ebrei. Piazzetta is a square, a small square, and Ebrei is Jews in Slovenic language. So the square of the Jews, you can clearly see the Star of David, Magen David, and you can see this wall. I mean, that's the only photo I could take because there's nothing else you can take a photo of. But this is the outside wall of a synagogue. That was the functioning synagogue for hundreds of years, and up until, again, World War II, when the entire community, Jewish community of Iran, was, was taken away and killed by the Nazis, and the synagogue became a church. So today, it is a functioning church. Now, when we stood outside, the church is functioning, but it was closed, so we could not get in. But anyway, we were looking at this wall outside, and then Avner, that Jewish guy from the group, he said, "Hey, I know that this is where the Holy Ark was. I mean, inside, of course." And I said, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, because in the synagogue," and this is something I never noticed before, I'm not religious, so I did not know that. Anyway, the wall, which has the Holy Ark, must have something different on the other side. I mean, it must have some part of the wall which comes out. So when somebody walks by a synagogue, he will know immediately which wall is the most important wall, which wall is the wall of the Holy Ark, which wall is facing Jerusalem. Now, we looked at that and said, well, this is the Holy Ark location, and so this is the direction to Jerusalem. And I had a very strong feeling that Jerusalem is not this way, but elsewhere. So, fortunately, we all have our cell phones. So we took our cell phone, we checked the compass, and guess what? This was the direction of Jerusalem. So he was right. And then we looked at the floor, and you see there's it's pretty strange. I mean, it's a white big patch on the floor, right? It's made of stone, probably limestone. I'm not sure, but anyway, like white stone, which is very different from the rest of the pavement. And then we have a small white patch here and another one here and two others. I mean, there was no way I needed a drone, which I didn't have. So it's a big center and four little patches on the side. So I said, hey, Avner, he was born in Uzbekistan. And he said, well, I know exactly what it is. And I had no clue. So he said, well, in Uzbekistan, sometimes we had a small synagogue because of all the restrictions, communism and stuff. So the synagogue was very small and the community was big. And when there was a wedding, so we wanted to celebrate the wedding in the synagogue, but there was not enough room in the synagogue. So we had that square, which is outside of the synagogue, next to the wall of the Holy Ark, next to the walls facing Jerusalem. And this is where we would put the chuppah. So the central part is for the chuppah, or better to say, this is the center of the chuppah. This is where the bride and groom would stand. And the 4 patches around is where you put the, what do you call it? The sticks, the legs, what do you call it? Something which holds the chuppah. Okay, so
like poles. You could use poles.
The poles, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. So this is where the poles of the chuppah would be standing. And again, that was another proof to the fact that this is indeed the right wall of the synagogue. So that was pretty moving, the only remain of the Jewish community which perished. We have the name of the square. We have these patches which can be understood by some Jews only, and we have a church. That's it. And finally, we made it to the central square of Piran, another photo of my Muslim group. And you see that statue, and that statue belongs to Giuseppe Tartini, a very famous. Well, he's considered to be Italian, but truly, he is of Italian origins, but he was born in Piran, in Slovenia, under the Italian rule, and so Piran is very proud of him. Let's listen to his music. Goes on and on. He is considered to be a great violinist and a great composer of the 18th century. I think for us today, at least for me personally, it sounds a bit boring. I hope you will, forgive me. But that's Giuseppe Tartini, born in. Now, you see, Slovenia doesn't have much of the Adriatic Sea. And so wherever possible, people will go swimming and enjoy the beach, even though there is almost no beach, or actually beach and promenade are the same things. So on that photo, you see people walking in the water, and on the right, you see the promenade. So basically, you have restaurant on the left, and you have not the beach, the sea on your right, and now you want to put a tent, and you want to have a swimming suit, and you want your kids to play with sand. You see, this is the family. There's no sand, but they are actually doing a picnic right by this restaurant, which happened to be pretty fancy, right by the beach. So the beach is narrow, but you have to enjoy it. You have nothing else. Another great special day we had was 3 states in one day. As you can see, we have this triangle here, that spot where Slovenia and Austria and Italy meet. And so within one day, you can visit the 3 of them. Okay, it's a very, very short visit, but you feel this satisfaction, I would say. Hey, I've been to 3 states in one day. So you start with the Triglav National Park in Slovenia, which is the hiker's paradise. This is the most beautiful. And now you can see once again the same mountain, which became the coat of arms of Slovenia. The three-headed mountains right here with the 3 stars. And from here, we cross the border and we arrive to Lago di Fucin. Lago is lake in Italian. You can get there by car, bus, or bikes. And as soon as we got off the bus, you see, I saw this beautiful wooden sculpture, which is actually a drinking fountain. Okay, this is pretty common in Europe, and it's beautiful, but nothing special. But then I saw these 2 ladies, you see, sitting on the bench. So I saw them, they saw me. So I said nothing, but they approached me and they started talking to me in perfect Italian, which I did not understand. So I said, sorry, I don't understand. And then I said, si, okay. And they gave me a booklet. And that booklet was in English. So I looked at the booklet, and that was a booklet about the witnesses of Jehovah. You know, this very bizarre, I would say, Christian sect. And I was like, oh my God, you know, I come from Jerusalem, and here in Lago di Fucin, I have to talk about the witnesses of Jehovah. So I pretended I don't speak English, and I just walked to the lake. So this is the Lago di Fucin, beautiful lake, clear, cold, surrounded by trees and forest and wild strawberry, which was delicious. And a few more photos. And from here we move to Austria. Again, you cross the border and here you are. I mean, you drive for about an hour and a half and you're a different country. And this is Austria. And, you know, I am excited because I'm Israeli and it doesn't work this way in Israel. I mean, you can cross the border to Egypt and Jordan, but it's never so easy. And it's a beautiful Austrian town of... I don't know if anybody recognized it's pretty famous. And if you did recognize, I don't know if you're aware of the connection between the music and Klagenfurt. Anybody? Okay, we will be back to it. So the main square of Klagenfurt has a dragon of themselves. It's called Lindwurm, okay, the Lindwurm. And that's what it looks like. And there is another story about a dragon which did not let the people live freely. And so the local king said that whoever will kill the dragon will be rich, of course. And somebody, this young, handsome, brave guy, managed to slaughter the dragon. And then the city could finally develop and be safe and happy. So this sculpture here was placed, not sure when, but a few hundred years ago. And you see, when it was made, the face of the dragon, this is the face of the dragon, was made according to this thing here on the right. Well, this thing on the right is a skull of a prehistoric rhino, which was found near Klagenfurt in 14th century or something. So it was found in a mine nearby. And when it was discovered, people believed that this is the actual skull of the actual dragon they always heard about. So the sculpture, which was made after the skull was found, was made according to that skull. but it has nothing to do with the dragon. It has to do with an ancient rhino. But anyway, that's what it looks like nighttime. Very pretty. And this is the answer about the connection between the music we just heard and Klagenfurt. So that house here, the Rathaus, the municipality of Klagenfurt, used to be a private house, or better to say a palace, of a Jewish family. And the father of that family, Rosenberg, he was in charge of the opera in Vienna. So he asked Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart to write an opera for him. And Mozart said, okay. And he wrote an opera, which is known today as The Marriage of Figaro. And that was the music we just listened to, okay? We listened just for a few seconds. It goes on and on and on, but that's one of the most famous operas ever written, I guess. And it was written by Mozart because of the guy who used to live here. So again, Klagenfurt is very proud of that fact. And then we wander around and we wander around some more. And all of a sudden we look at the floor and that's what we see. You see these little golden flags. And if you look at them carefully, you can see the names on them. And these are Jewish names. And this is the way Klagenfurt decided to commemorate the Jewish community, which no longer exists. In front of the houses where Jews used to live before World War II, or wherever the house used to be, even if that house was fully replaced, they put the names of the former residents, the names and the date when they were sent away. And that's, again, it's so weird. You walk around this beautiful, clean, happy, colorful town. I mean, it's really, really pretty. And you look at the walls and you look at the cafes, you look at the churches, and then you look down there, you watch your step, and then you see these plaques, these names, and you realize that there used to be a Jewish community here. So that was another powerful moment for me. This is a local tradition. You see there's a little ugly dwarf with his finger up there. So if you hold his finger and you make a wish, it should come true. I've tried, it didn't work yet, but I'm still trying. Klagenfurt has quite a few twin cities, and our duty was to look around and to find a city we know. Okay, so we walked around and finally we found this one. Okay, Nazareth Elite. Upper Nazareth, which was, by the way, recently renamed to Nov Galil, but that's the same one, the Jewish town, which is right next to Nazareth. So we found, high from home in Austria. And there's a beautiful store with handmade liqueurs and handmade olive oil and wonderful gelatos, of course, and iced cafe. And so that's time for us to finish. So I wish you all a sweet and delicious dinner. This is the actual menu they have there. You see on the right, this is a pizza margherita, entirely made of fruits and gelato, and whipped cream, of course. And thank you all for joining me. I wish we meet together and have an iced coffee at some point on the beach of Tel Aviv. So, okay, as you wish again, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia. Let's make it fun. That was great.
Okay, thank you.
You were asking questions, and I make it so that people can't unmute themselves. So maybe that's why you weren't hearing some answers from people.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I guess now I will see the answers.
We'll tell them to put it in the chat next time.
Right. Well, you see, I told you ahead of time that I'm very excited about Slovenia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you excited as well, and you agree that it's a wonderful place to visit. So just to say, before I address the chat and before the regular procedures in the end of the presentation, I would like to invite you for the next presentation, which will take place 2 weeks from today. And that will be the last presentation of the month, and then we have a break for September. But next presentation will be made by Sharona Lehman. She is a tour guide. She's a good friend of mine. She is an amazing specialist on basically everything, and she made a few presentations for us before, so that name must be familiar for a few of you at least. Anyway, the next presentation is amazing. I've heard her before. It is dedicated to, I would call it walking the Israel Museum with the Bible. The idea is to visit the Israel Museum. I mean, we've done it before. I mean, you have done it before. In reality, I've made 2 presentations about the archaeological wing of the Israel Museum. But what she's doing, she's walking the archaeological wing of the Israel Museum with the Bible. So she will be talking about items which are directly referred to the Bible. I mean, you read a phrase, a word from the Bible. I'm talking about the Hebrew Bible only. And then you see the items. I mean, you can truly see what the Bible is talking about. So sometimes it's pretty obvious, like the names of the kings of Judea mentioned in the Bible, but most of the time it's much less obvious. Okay, so I will not do more spoilers than that, but it is amazing. I can tell you that even though I read the Bible, I've studied Bible, I was sort of teaching the Bible while guiding in Israel. But she found things which were like, whoa, I never noticed. I never looked at it from this angle. So I can promise you an amazing presentation, and I'm so happy she was available for us to do this last presentation of the season, because I wanted it to be, I wanted it to be meaningful and respectable, and so it is amazing.
Thank you, Julia, for getting her again. She's wonderful, and I'm looking forward to that one. And it'll be perfect to end out the season. And when Julia says we have a break next month, it's not that we're not here. We just don't have any like formal speakers. Julia's not going to give us a tour, but we will have a schmooze every week. Just a schmooze. I mean, you're welcome to talk. And if you have a topic you want to talk about for like 10, 20 minutes, you're welcome to. Just let me know in the chat. But yeah, and then we'll reconvene the month after. I think it's with one program a month and 2 schmoozes, I think is how it's going to work. I'll get back to everyone. But for now, this program with Sharona Lehman is in 2 weeks. Next week is a schmooze.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, of course, you're right. I mean, the schmooze will continue, and probably, I mean, as it looks today, it will continue forever and ever till Messiah comes, which is, I mean, we never thought of creating a schmooze community, but that's what happened, and I'm so happy about it. And I'm not sure, Ilana, was it your idea, the schmooze sessions, or Steve?
It was my idea, because it's like, I know that in Canada, all the VFI people have more of a community. They always get to talk to each other for some reason, and they travel and do VFI together, and we don't have that in the US. So I wanted a place where everyone could talk, but we couldn't go to Israel. So I wanted to have like a hangout for people who are Zionists and VFI veterans. So
Ilana, it was an amazing idea. I mean, I would never think of it, but the way it works, it's just beyond.
Well, hopefully people continue to join us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they wouldn't have come without you. So,
well, you have to come over.
We're a team, and I think we matched today, Julia. I think we're like similar, aside from the blonde hair I don't have. We're wearing similar colors.
Yeah, we're not wearing the same shirt.
There we go. We planned this. Yeah. All right. I have to see if there's any questions. I know Harry made a joke. I'm sure of that.
Look. Okay, I see that Harry says Pondus Art, definitely the most famous love bridge. In Paris,
Black
right?
Rock Bridge.
Okay. Well, we have less famous one in Tel Aviv. Okay. How do you keep a robot? Well, exactly. That's what I don't know if you give it a chip or extra or maybe extra electricity or I don't know, but it was working so well. You know, we were very impressed. Okay.
It was a joke, and then Matthew added on to it.
No, I mean, it was. Okay. Okay.
Oh, Harry asked if there were Jews left in Slovenia. If so, do they feel at ease there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if there is any Jewish community in Slovenia. There is a Jewish community in Croatia for sure. I guess there are Jews living in Slovenia simply because there are Jews everywhere. So I would assume there are Jews there, but I don't really know. I'm not aware of any like functioning community with working shul or anything like that. But I'm sure there are Jews.
Okay. If anyone wants to unmute and ask Julia a question, you're welcome to.
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
Julia, next year I'm thinking of going to Israel for a vacation or a tour. Could you recommend some group tours? Can you put some names for me so I could check it out?
Well, Julia's a tour guide if you'd like a tour guide.
But she's private, and that's not affordable.
Yes, I see. I'm not sure who. I truly don't know. I don't know who makes tours like open registration tours. I am familiar only with tours for. Oh no! You know what? I do have an idea. Okay, you Google Authentic Israel.
Google what?
Authentic Israel.
Authentic Israel.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to put it on chat, but somehow it doesn't switch to English. Okay.
Okay. Google Authentic Israel.
Yeah.
Authentic.
I can put it in the chat if you want.
Israel. Yeah. I think I did it.
You missed a T here.
Where are you in the United States?
In San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Because when we went to Israel on regular tours, we used Gil tours, which Atlanta would know about.
Gil, Gill.
So if you go to Gil, here, I work for them until tomorrow. I'm putting a message in the chat. It's called Gil Travel. You can go to giltravel.com, and if you can try to email. I don't know if you'll get a response, but if you email them and say you're interested in a guaranteed tour, they have a whole bunch that are operated in Israel that they can sign you up for that definitely go, as opposed to trips where that have to have a certain number of people. And they used to have a senior tour, but I don't know if they're still doing it.
Well, it doesn't have to be a senior tour.
Okay. So yeah, you could go on to Guild Travel and then email them at their info email, and I'm sure they can help you.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Harry.
On or something.
Authentic Israel, which I recommended. I used to work for them before COVID, and then they have senior tours, which are very good. So I would recommend them if they still have it. I don't know what's going on after COVID.
Yeah.
But go ahead and check both options, and the itinerary you like most.
She might not be that expensive.
Okay.
So much.
What?
I said thank you so much.
Sure.
You're most welcome. Well, I see no questions on chat. I don't know. It was either very clear or not so engaging. I don't know.
No, it was engaging. Does anyone else have any questions about Slovenia?
Well, if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to ask. Otherwise, you're just welcome to visit Slovenia.
I have a question.
Sure.
How could there be no Jews left in a country? Didn't anyone hide Jews or help Jews?
That's my wife that you can't see.
Oh my
Thought
God.
I recognized that voice.
Yeah, didn't any Jews, I mean, even in Poland, people hid Jews.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm saying. I am sure there are Jews living in Slovenia, but I am not aware of a Jewish community, of a functioning community. That's what I mean. I'm sure there were Jews who survived the Holocaust, but I would guess they simply made Aliyah after
Yeah.
the war.
You figured they just left afterwards if they lived. Yeah.
Yeah, either dangerous or just, traumatic, whatever reason brought people to Israel. That's maybe.
I thought that fact you said about the Aron Kodesh, like it has to be, is that everywhere? It's supposed to have something on the other side of the wall, like all over the world?
Look, this is what he said. Okay, I never heard of it before, so I was about to start checking when I come back to Israel.
Yeah.
But as I came back home, I totally forgot about it. And then when I was making this presentation, I was like, oh God, I have to go check. And somehow I didn't, but
So
I will.
interesting.
I will check and I will let you know 2 weeks from now. Okay.
Great.
I will definitely
Great.
check it out.
Oh, Don asked what currency is used.
The currency is euro, and they were actually among the first countries who joined the European Union and immediately switched to euros, which made them, it helped their economy, and at the same time it made them more expensive. So as I said, they are the most prosperous and the most expensive country among the former Yugoslavia states. So yeah, that's euro. All right.
Any other questions? No, it was all new information for me.
Yeah, sometimes when you hear too much news, like you don't have questions because you don't know enough to answer.
I really like the music you played, so I know you didn't like the composer so much, but I thought it was beautiful.
Really? Well, I'm so happy. So again, you're welcome to put Giuseppe Tartini on YouTube. And
I will. I took a screenshot so that I can do it later.
Okay, so he has plenty of his music placed on YouTube. I'm sure it's more my thing than general thing. I mean, for me, Figaro is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julia. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you all, plus many others, in 2 weeks. Enjoy the schmooze a week from today.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All the best.
All right, Laila Tov.
Laila Tov. Bye. Have a gelato.
Bye. Thank you so much, Julia.
Bye.
Okay, so now I'll be Steve and say we're officially in schmooze mode. But unlike Steve, I don't have a list of topics for us to discuss. So if someone has a topic.
Stop the recording.
Okay, thank you. You get